back to TARTLEcast. Anybody seen our gold? I love. I
wonder how many people actually
line.
held a gold bullion in their hands, like out of everybody that's here.
Heavy.
Yeah, or actually like felt gold, or like real 18 or 24 karat gold.
It's so super soft.
It almost looks fake.
It's dirty, very heavy, but it's extremely valuable to use in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be jewelry, whether that be circuit boards, or whether that be you just trying to hold it as a hedge against inflation. I'm teeing it up like it's Top Golf right now.
Oh, that's just the greatest thing ever.
So you brought in an article to me. You know, on TARTLEcast, we're a data podcast, but it's important that when we talk about marketplaces, you know, you put in work.
Yes.
You know, it's time, you know, it's money, it's data. Data's an asset. And we, you know, like to talk about people that like to abuse assets that people have worked for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and before data was getting abused, there was a really good collective of people in London that were abusing another type of asset. That asset's called gold.
Yes.
You know, gold's interesting. It's got a really rich history to it, no pun intended. But, you know, people have always said that gold itself, like you were saying, there's only enough of it in the world to like put into an Olympic-sized swimming pool. There's way more gold than that. So before that statement, you know, after that statement was popular, there was a temple in India, and if you don't know the Indian culture, you probably do because you're a listener here. It's always about bringing gifts, paying homage to the gods, and there's about like 40,000 plus avatars that they have over in India. People choose whichever one works best for them, but there are some major ones, you know, Krishna.
That's cool that you can. It's like a decentralized god system.
This is what it is. That's essentially what it is. You choose the avatar that works best for you. There was this temple that I think had 5 sealed caverns inside of it. And one of them, for however long the temple had been there, it was guarded. Like the priest would guard the front. No one, you can't get in here. You're not allowed in this thing. You know, you go to the temple, you pray, you give your offerings, but no one's allowed to go through that door. But for years, they had a record account of everything that had been essentially donated or paid homage to the gods. So they cracked this safe open one day. These archaeologists like, we got to get in here. We got to check this out. There's a new reign of priests that run in the temple. I don't know if you call them priests, what have you. So they cracked this thing open, and this thing is so chock full of gold. It like threw the supply out of whack. They were like, this is not right. And the second they had cracked it open, the Indian military shows up and they start guarding this entire thing. And what's interesting about this is that it had gone from, we're doing this, the gold ownership, we've transferred it over to the gods. The priests are just watching it. And now the government shows up and the government wants to take control of it.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, if they showed up quickly like that, there was probably a drone flying, watching.
There's something.
You know, there was a lot of nefarious.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. I forget the name of the temple. You can look it up, but they said it was like Indiana Jones when he showed up and he saw that gold city. Mm-hmm. They said there was that much gold, but the interesting part about it is it draws so much attention. In the culture of human beings, it's a powerful object.
Yes.
Even just I mean, what does it say if a guy's driving by in his Ferrari or Lamborghini or Mercedes and he's gold-plated the entire thing? It's a statement.
Yes.
It always has been a statement. Kings have worn gold. Now, when you think about that in culture and how that's been passed down, if there are people that control that item, even if fiat currency is apparently just like the best for whatever, you know, the central banks tell you it should be, they still want to control gold. Why is that? What's the idea with you wanting to control this cultural item? It's a power thing here, right? And we know that at the end of the Bretton Woods system, when they moved, it was no longer a gold standard. We're all going to move over to fiat currency, right? Floating exchange rates. Well, then where did all that gold ownership go at that point? The central bank's telling you, okay, all the value, all the work you put in every single day was actually backed by a gold or a silver certificate, right? Like, here's your gold. I can trade this into the treasury, whatever, get my gold. That doesn't happen anymore. And then it switched over to, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you a $20 note. It's a note payable from the U.S. Treasury. They're saying if you turn this in, I mean, it's essentially a value of debt. And it's just debt paper you're handing back and forth.
And it's I can remember when I was in the Marine Corps and I was in Somalia, and all these like orphan kids would run around and stuff. You know, you'd have like 20, 30 of them. One there wanting MRE, things from MREs or whatever.
Yep.
But we would give them $1. This would be fun. They would do this on purpose. They would bring stacks full of Somalian money.
Yeah.
Like with rubber bands on it, like stacks. We give them $1 and they would give us like 4 or 5 of these stacks.
Yeah.
Like you could set it here and it would look like you're like
a drug lord.
balling. Yeah.
Here's the
but it was worthless.
And here's the interesting part about it. They knew it was worthless.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put down a gold bar, people would be killing each other over it.
Yes.
Society determines. This was an interesting turning point here. Now we're getting into this historical, philosophical kind of thing happening here with economics. Society is the one that determines the value of something. On the TARTLE marketplace, you determine the value of your data.
Right.
Collectively, all of us coming together, taking ownership of it and sharing it when we choose to do so through choice, right? Generating that asset through your work, you're determining that value. Now, if when you were working before, all the work you put in would materialize towards this cultural item, one that was deeply ingrained in human history, to have actual value to it, something that was your hedge against everything.
Yes.
Someone comes in and says, hey, we're going to put in a new system, and everything you're going to work for are these stacks of Somalian money. And that's where your value sits, in something completely worthless, where now here's the major change. Society no longer determined the value of their work. A few central banks now determined the value of everybody's work.
Yes.
And now it's much easier to manipulate things. But in order for them to do that, they had to take this gold and move it into their control. If you limit the supply of it, you control its pricing. And then people can remove the option of actually buying into that gold and just be stuck or forced going into a system where they buy products or derivatives of essentially the fiat currency. And their work is no longer based on what thousands and thousands of years of cultural history has told us is valuable, where some people come in and say, hey, I've engineered a new thing that's completely effing worthless. You don't determine the value for it. We do. You have no control over the situation.
There's none.
So what does that mean? Your time, your work is now for them. It's no longer for yourself. So where does that leave us?
It leaves us being helpless.
Yeah.
It leaves us being able to be manipulated.
Right.
It leaves us totally the 1% centralized.
So, and what does that mean for time? We all know that that's a major asset for everybody. It's very limited.
Yeah, I mean, we always mention this guy. We talk about him all the time, Robert Breedlove. He talks about this. You were talking about, we'll get into time. I think this is very important. But over the years, he said, gold has resisted supply manipulation.
Yeah.
It's far from perfect, he says, but we see the London gold pool.
Yep.
And you can read more about this at, Alex has it pulled up, gata.org. That's gata.org. But central banks have cornered the market on gold, which you were talking about. The reason they did that is because they have to suppress the hard money. And Bitcoin may turn into this, I mean, it's still iffy. People don't know, but if it becomes like gold where it's a hard asset and people value it because the people decide that, then this will be the same thing.
Yeah.
With the soft money, which is the fiat currency. So market manipulation is only possible, he says, because of passivity.
Tell me what it means. So being passive, what does that mean?
Well, he talks about surrendering our sovereignty. So it's us and whatever nation, doesn't matter. We're in 25 nations. All of you have fiat currency.
Yep.
Surrendering our sovereignty to unaccountable institutions like central banks.
Well, that's what happens. So when you are forced into the adoption of their system, your choice is gone. You're forced into their system. That's choice numero uno, gone. Now, when you work, you have no choice in your payment. You're forced, because of the system you're in, to receive the thing that they determine the value of.
Yes.
Gold, I can go from this border to the next one to the next. Every culture will readily take that gold out of my hands and trade for 1,000 cattle, whatever it might be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the difference. But for over here, right? If I want to take what I've earned and worked for, I have to take it and then go ask to exchange it with another group who has a totally different value for time, work, and money.
Yeah, it also has, when it's based off of soft money like this, I mean, look how much the USD or US dollar bullies.
Yeah, all the time.
It's the bully currency.
Yeah, it's pushing people around.
We have the ability to be able to, and I want people to realize this. Whether you're in the United States, it doesn't matter. I've heard this analogy and it's so great. Do you ever watch those David Attenborough, whatever, the nature shows?
Why Attenborough?
You know what?
Why that's not his name? David Attenborough.
Yeah, Attenborough. Yeah, but all those nature shows, and everybody has. There are tons of them on Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, and you watch this deer, like this innocent little fawn.
Oh, here we go with the metaphors.
And then next thing you know, you see out of the corner, like the deer's just in a meadow eating clover, just relaxing. And then you look over there and the music changes, and in the tree line is the face of a wolf.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck this deer. You get like anxious for it, because you know it's going to happen.
We all know.
Yeah, I mean it's a.
So you're working, right. Society's working. We're little deer. We're just munching on our clover, doing our thing, just trying to evolve.
Right.
And then this wolf's just hanging out.
But we have to look at it this way, because people don't realize this.
Tell me.
The same show can turn around and show the flight of the wolf. And that the wolf is barely starving, and here's the cubs.
Yep.
And then this cub is growing up, and you watch this cub, and they've named it Wolf 127.
Yep.
And Wolf 127 barely made it when it was a cub, but now it's surviving, and it needs to eat more, because now you're all excited that it's eating.
Yeah, like go eat.
Go eat it. Get it. You get some food.
You get that damn deer, and you eat it.
So our perspective. And this is a problem, and I don't want to get too much of a tangent on this, but this is a problem with social media.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I can watch an hour worth of police brutality, and then I feel like cops are the worst thing ever.
Right.
I can watch an hour of cops doing amazing things.
You're like, cops are the best thing ever.
But the data,
yep,
the logical data states that majority of situations that cops are doing are boring.
They are.
It's just an exchange. It's actually pretty boring.
Yeah.
So 90% of it. So both of those are on the extremes, the wolf, the deer. So what begins to happen is when we're looking at stories like this, we have to make sure we take the data and we understand. And then this is why with TARTLE, we get so philosophical, because you need to understand those stories that are on MSNBC or CNBC or Bloomberg or, whatever you have, CCTV and freaking, Rush. They all have these, monetary policy, basically central bank backed channels.
Right.
I mean, who's running these?
So they're telling them all of your narratives need to support what we're doing.
Yes, over and over and over again.
Constantly. So what are you going to do?
They can switch the narrative on people so quickly.
So all you get is
because they have
data.
control.
Yeah, and they have total perspective control.
And this is what he says. He says, we cede conscious control over most aspects of our lives.
We do, but
we voluntarily
say,
here you go, government.
Yeah, here you go, take it. I'm not trying to tell people to like stir up and go crazy and just just have a crazy anarchy.
But I like what he says here. Central banks engaged in expansionary monetary policy are actively, and you talked about this, are actively stealing time from free people.
Yeah, that's the whole point. They know that the most valuable asset on a human being is time. And so if you're working and they rob you essentially of that work, they're robbing you of time. They're robbing you of your life.
But it's even more than that, because as they create inflation, as they increase money supplies, then they reallocate claims on productive capital from the majority to a politically favored few.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
So it's the reverse Robin Hood.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's the rich making the rich richer.
It's you know what the Robin Hood is? Like, we're all paying him with our time.
Right.
And then they just reallocate that resource to the ones that favor them in whatever choice they want to do.
But especially here in the United States, it's a great thing. So these rich are getting richer.
Yeah.
And then they put on these costumes called Republican and Democrat.
Oh, yeah.
And then they get us all riled up like, oh, I'm Donald Trump, I'm Joe Biden.
They don't know that the same banker.
Both of them are making shitloads of money.
And they're probably hanging out in the same room.
They're smoking cigars.
Going to the same islands, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing, and people get so wrapped up in this. They get so wrapped up in this, in the narrative, when they don't realize the narrative is flipped.
Yeah, why don't they see the scam
with the
Why don't they see the scam? Why? Because people are living it every single day. They think that ceding their sovereignty over to these groups is how life should be. It's not.
Yeah, and how long have they continued through these policies to extend the working lives of us?
Oh my gosh.
The savings, our savings are worthless.
Absolutely worthless.
People are working to 70, 75.
That just keeps increasing.
Yes.
They're just burning through all that stuff.
But people aren't realizing this. That alone, by them increasing the age of that,
yeah,
and eventually doing away with retirement and pension funds and all that,
yeah,
all of that is a manipulation. It's a play on us.
correct. And you know what I like? Let me tee this off now. You know what I like about TARTLE? Apart from the fact that we run the company, right? Mm-hmm. It gives people sovereignty.
And that we're involved.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part to like.
Yeah. It reinforces individual sovereignty. Mm-hmm. You get total control over the creation, holding, and exchange of your asset, determined by your own choice on value. No other outside group is doing it.
Yes,
that means collectively, with every new human being that joins every single day, they're all coming in to support the value of something they rightfully own.
And this is why it's so important. And we tell people over and over again, we're not asking you to tell your friends and family to grow. We're asking you, it creates more value. The more sellers we have on the system, which is you selling data, the more you tell your friends and family, they get on and they sell their data. The more buyers we have of data, that drives, it's a marketplace. It drives the value up.
Just drives it up.
So the work that you do and that you share exponentially with other people creates more value. Unlike monetary inflation, which is, as Robert Breedlove says, is a direct violation of private property rights and individual sovereignty.
Okay, so I guess then de facto, we are just completely opposed to everything a central bank would do.
Well, TARTLE's the answer to this.
No, I know.
And because the answer to this is decentralized, humans doing work,
given choice,
giving choice, and then being able to be paid for that work properly.
Right.
Think about that.
And if our future is inherently digital, which is obvious,
right?
Well, then where's the value going to sit? The value will be within data.
And he uses three words I think is really good. We can close it out with this.
Yeah.
He says, where are we going to give? Where are we going to go? How are we going to decide with our vigilance, the sacred sovereign energies that we have? Where are we going to give that? Yeah, where are we going to give that? And we know, the safest place is, TARTLE. He says Bitcoin, but the safest place, which is fine if you want to invest. It's a hard asset.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But TARTLE is the safest marketplace out there.
Because you are in 100% control.
Yes.
It is by design, can't be manipulated. Just can't. We, even as the people running it, we can't manipulate it. We can't see your data. We can't determine the price for you.
No.
Nothing. Has nothing to do with us.
No,
all we did was
100%.
We created the bridge.
Yes.
Now it's time for you to cross it.
Yes.
And that sovereignty, don't give it to anyone else. Give it to yourself.
It's as simple. I was sharing with someone yesterday. It's as simple as you going out to the jungle, getting some mangoes.
I love mangoes.
Coming to a marketplace. You pay the money for that booth.
Yeah. You
put your mangoes on there. A person comes to you and says, I'd like to buy that mango. You say, it's 200 pesos. He says, well, I'll pay you 100 pesos.
And you're like,
can we do 150? And then he's like, okay, yeah, 150.
Yeah, great.
And then that transaction is completed.
Yeah, that's
that booth.
Yeah.
That marketplace is TARTLE.
That's all it is. Oh, by the way, it doesn't cost anything to join. It's even better than bringing your mangoes to the marketplace.
Yeah, you don't have to have a booth fee.
No, there's no booth fee.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know.
So
I was just like, the obviousness.
So private property rights and individual sovereignty, those two answers are solved through TARTLE.
Yeah. The second you sign up. And you can do that for free at tartle.co. Thank you.